There's a war being waged right now, just not the kind you're thinking.
All right, and the Oscar goes to The Boy and the Heron.
Japan's anime industry has doubled in size the past decade, making over $20 billion in annual sales.
From the most popular movie in the world this year, K-pop Demon Hunters.
Hi, we're BTS, and it is a great honor to be invited to the White House today.
Pop Mart shares rise to a record as the CEO announces a new mini labubu.
The Game Award goes to Black Myth Wukong.
There was a time when the size of a nation's army was directly linked to how much influence that nation could exert. And while physical power is still an important tool in the 21st century, war is no longer the first choice for most nations to get what they want. China, Korea, and Japan have been engaged in some form of conflict since forever. No, seriously, they've been at it for over a millennia. Though in the last 70 or so years, this conflict has shifted almost entirely from killing each other to making money off each other, and white people. With this rise in economic competition, so too has the concept of soft power grown in Asia. Soft power, simply put, is your public image, or the ability to make someone do something because they like you, as opposed to hard power, which is your physical strength, or the ability to make someone do something because if they don't, you can diddle them against their will. Hard power has been replaced by soft power as the tool of choice for Asia's 3 largest economies when vying for dominance. But how does international soft power actually work? And which Asian country is currently winning the soft power war? To answer all of this, we first need to understand. Take America, for example, which, post-World War II, established itself as the soft power Chad. American brands are viewed as high-end. American food can be found almost anywhere. And American media is by far the most consumed across the world. This obviously translates to profit. What's not so obvious, though, is the powerful effect that soft power has on dampening negative sentiment towards a country. Remember how just a few months ago, the US invaded a sovereign country and kidnapped their president? But then no one really cared because Timothée Chalamet's Ass was making its global debut around the same time. I know America did the same thing again like 2 months later, but you get the point. The motive for the US, or any nation, to retain and expand their soft power is the ability to do some pretty questionable stuff and have the whole world look the other way.
To launch a wholly unjustified and brutal invasion of Iraq. Of Ukraine. Iraq too. Anyway.
So, back to Asia. Now that we know why soft power is so highly sought after, what assets have Japan, South Korea, and China deployed in order to capture it? Let's start with Japanese culture, cuisine, and technology are all highly sought after within the global market, with Japan's most obvious asset being anime. Every hour that passes, another plane touches down in Tokyo Narita, filled with weebs ready to unload their hard-earned Western dollars at Ichiran maid cafes, and other stuff. Weird things aside, Japan has leveraged its soft power to great effect. In 2026, Japanese products are synonymous with quality and craftsmanship. Japanese media is consumed all over the world, and Japan as a country is the most popular tourist destination in Asia. Also, every time anyone tries to hold Japan accountable for what they did during World War II, Japan just drops another season of anime, and all of a sudden no one cares what they did in the 1940s, until the next time someone brings it up.
Who knows better about surprise than Japan? Okay, why didn't you tell me about Pearl Harbor? Okay?
While Japan does possess strong soft power, things aren't entirely rosy, especially when it comes to media. where South Korea's dominance is growing. And that brings us to South Korea's rise in soft power has been more recent, but arguably more explosive, and definitely more intentional. In the 1990s, the South Korean government made a decision to invest heavily in Korean media. This paid off quickly in the Asian market, with broadcasters replacing their previously Japanese television programs with much cheaper Korean alternatives, giving rise to the first global wave of Korean media. This has grown to the point where in 2025, the #1 most streamed Netflix film and series are both Korea-related, and the #1 most viewed video on YouTube is a children's song by a Korean studio. That's a goddamn generational run if I've ever seen one. Of course, Korean media also includes K-pop, which has found similar success globally. Much of this is owed to the almost formulaic approach that Korean studios take in producing pop stars that appeal to as broad a demographic as possible. So, Korean media is everywhere. Korean tech like Samsung and LG can also be found everywhere. And as far as I can tell, Korean culture generally, from music to fashion and even food, is now very influential in the West. And that leaves us with historically speaking, China hasn't really prioritized amassing soft power, preferring instead to just maul its rivals using sheer force. This isn't to say that Chinese soft power didn't exist. For example, China has always performed well in the Olympics. And Chinese icons like Jackie Chan, Michelle Yeoh, and Wong Kar-wai have all helped to shape the global perception of China in a positive light.
What's up, my nigga?
For the most part, even one of the most influential hip-hop groups of all time take their name from an 80s kung fu flick. With that being said, China's soft power has always remained a few steps behind that of Japan and South Korea. There's never been a distinct export of China's that's had the same cultural impact as anime for Japan or K-pop for Korea. Over the past decade, though, it's become apparent that China has gained a foothold in the global soft power sphere, with brands like TikTok and BYD shifting China's reputation away from a manufacturer of cheap goods to that of a leader in cutting-edge technology. Pop Mart has also managed to psyop the whole world into thinking labubus are cute, making these gremlin on ketamine looking ass dolls the first natively Chinese fashion item to trend globally. Chinese media is making waves too, with Black Myth Wukong showcasing the kind of art that Chinese people can produce when they decide to become game devs instead of doctors. Ironically though, the biggest bump to Chinese soft power hasn't come directly from China. IShowSpeed's 2-week China visit has unironically done more for China's soft power than the combined efforts of the CCP over the past 20 years. You can literally trace the recent rise in China's cultural relevance to the exact time that Speed's visit began. And the reason Speed's visit put China on the map was because none of his interactions, at least from what I saw, felt forced or scripted. He was just some dude vibing with the locals.
Okay!
So, now that we've covered the 3 big players, which Asian country is the current dominant holder of soft power? Well, it's pretty neck and neck between Japan and South Korea, but overall it seems like Korea has begun to pull ahead due to the ever-growing popularity of Korean media. China's soft power still remains a few steps behind. But China doesn't need to be the most liked nation in the world. It simply needs to be liked enough that the moves its government makes and the products it exports are viewed in a more favorable light. And this is proving to be true. For example, the Chinese EV brand BYD just overtook Tesla in annual sales. TikTok, another Chinese product, has recently been greenlit to continue operating in the US.
I'm a fan of TikTok.
Both these stories reflect a growing level of trust and favoritism in China that even a decade ago would have been unthinkable. Regardless of who's number one, unlike an actual war, there's an argument to be made that a war for soft power is a net positive. encouraging nations to invest in and export their culture. And it'll be interesting to see what Japanese, Korean, or Chinese creation takes the world by storm next.